Hey, and welcome back to It's the Clan Life, and I'm AK Hammer with the Armor Knights presenting episode 4 of the Clan Life, where we're going to talk about leadership. We've already talked about the types of clan that you may want to be built, whether it's game-based, friends-based, casual, competitive, etc. The foundation, talking about website stuff that helps you build on TeamSpeak, voiceover programs, etc. And then last video we just talked about was rules and the importance of having some kind of a structure for your members so they can know what they can and can't do and or should or shouldn't do. And you really kind of need those rules. Along that line, you need leadership. So you need to have people in the group that are running things. That doesn't mean you have um, a Fidel Castro or a Putin, or some kind of a dictator type, or to be fair, some kind of a some kind of a ranting imbecile or a wacko like Donald Trump, like we currently have. And I'm not saying that because I hate Donald Trump and I hate Democrats, et cetera, et cetera. It's not a political statement. It's just, let's face it, anytime a president's on Twitter just ranting every free thought he has, definitely not a good situation. But you have to have that leadership. Leadership is what's going to help guide the clan. You're going to be the one to make decisions when things come up that need to be done. And sometimes when those hard decisions come up where somebody has to make that decision, it's got to be you. So what kind of leadership can you have in a group, clan, or a guild? Well, it's a good question. So we have listed here, we have quite a few different types that I have seen and that you could try and instill. So we have the democracy. Democracy, I think, is probably the best way to do it as a clan, and there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, if you are the guy that's running the clan, you don't have all the answers. Trust me, you don't. And I'm not saying I do. Now, I may have more answers than the average person because I've been doing a lot longer. As I talked about in the intro, I'm old. I get it. But that means I've been around a long time, done a lot of things. So I have a few more answers than the average guy, just because I've been doing it for so long. But I don't have all the answers. So there are times when I will get the senior guys in my group together and we'll talk about something because I'm struggling with something. I don't know how we best need to attack this. And so we get together with your senior guys and you kind of talk about it and get their take on it. What do they think? The problem with democracy is groupthink. For those of you that don't know, it's a term that has to do with when you get a group of people together and the majority start thinking one way, the rest of them kind of follow along, even if it's not a good idea, because that's what the group is saying. So the thing about a democracy is you have to have people that are not afraid to speak their mind. And you have to allow them to do that within the parameters of being respectful and not being a jackass. You have to allow people to give their thought process or options and how they think or how they like things or don't like things because all that stuff can be important. So you have to allow them to do that. And that's what makes you stronger because you start understanding how other people may think about things, and that can help you build your thought process or your decision making on those things. The best part about democracy I like is ownership. So if everybody in the clan has a say, even if it's just the ability to say what they think, not necessarily that will make policy. But if you have a group of people that feel that their thought matters, for them from a mental standpoint, they kind of feel ownership with that clan. So now they feel more a part of that clan because, hey, I thought about that. Hey, I was in on that decision. Or, hey, when we talked about it, I came up with that idea and we implemented it. And that makes people feel a lot better about being there because they feel like they're more part of it. So that's the other benefit of democracy. So democracy, in my opinion, because of things like that, tend to work better for the long term. Now, that doesn't mean, having said democracy, that doesn't mean that people vote on who's in charge. That's not really the perspective of the democratic clan that we're talking about. We're just talking about the idea as you as a clan leader, taking into account other people's thoughts and ideas. You can have your own thought and idea, and you're still going to make the decision based on what you think and you want to do. But it's not a bad idea to get the other people's thoughts, because maybe they're thinking about something you haven't thought about. Maybe they bring up an idea that you didn't know about or you didn't think about. So you can draw from everybody's experience and knowledge in that environment. Um, Dictatorship. Typically, dictatorships don't do great. They can do fine. They typically do better in the competitive side because if you have a group, if you played sports at all and you were playing whatever sport you're playing, and the coach was kind of a hard ass, but you guys won a lot and you did really well, et cetera, et cetera. People are going to tend to be willing to deal with that hard ass coach because of the success that they're having. Same thing with a clan or a guild. If you're playing clan wars in World of Tanks and your commanding officer for your clan is really kind of a tool, but he's great at battle calling and he really knows the maps and he really knows the tactics and strategies, and you guys had a lot of success in tournaments and you do well in clan wars, etc. People are going to tend to overlook that guy because of the success that they're having when they're making the gold from the clan wars, or they're making the gold from the tournaments, or whatever game it is that you're playing. People are going to tend to look past that. You're still going to have people that are not going to like it, and you may still have people that are going to leave. But if you have success, people tend to be more willing to deal with that. Now, having said that, for a dictatorship to be successful over the long term, you as the leader have to be liked and you have to do well. So in the examples I was previously getting about the clan leader being a tool, you're a dictator and you're a tool, but you have success. People will stick around, but you're still going to lose people over time because after a while they're just going to get tired of the dumb shit. So if you do well and you're a nice guy about it, that's really the only equation where you will do well over the long term. So you can be a dictator where you make every decision, you don't ask anybody, you don't care what they think, this is what we're doing, boom, and done. People typically don't always like that. Obviously, there's percentages that operate well in that environment, but in a game-based situation, people don't necessarily like to be dictated like children all the time. But again, if you're having success, people will tend to deal with that kind of stuff if they can be on a team that is really good. So dictatorship is kind of the both sides. If you're a tool but you do well, you'll probably do fine. Over the long run, you're still going to lose people over time because you're not going to put up with it for forever. The other side of that is if you're a really nice guy and people like you and you do well as a dictator, that's really the only formula that you have where you will last for a long time. Finally, ruling by committee. It sounds nice, but historically it doesn't do very well. And what we mean by leadership by committee. So every time a decision comes up, instead of you as a clan leader making that decision, you farm it out to all your senior guys and ask them what they think, and then you just take a vote and do that. It sounds a little bit like democracy, except for ruling by committee. What happens invariably is the people that are in your committee, your central group that does this, sometimes they can start thinking that they have more say or more weight. Their decision has more weight than it does. You're still the clan leader. Ultimately, the decision rests with you. But if you are never willing to make those decisions and you'd rather just pawn off that decision to the group and let them do it, invariably you're going to have that group is going to start fighting because when you do decide to do something and you make that decision, they're going to be like, well, that's stupid, we don't like that, you didn't ask us, how come you didn't talk to me about it? And you're going to be like, well, it's my clan, I run things around here. But you've already set the precedent that you involve them in all that stuff and you let them make that decision instead of you stepping in and being the guy. And also what happens is you end up with too many chiefs, not enough Indians. Somebody has to be in charge and somebody has to be the decision maker. So that's the fine line between the democratic type of clan and the committee type of clan. Is that in a democratic clan, which is what AK is, They know that I'm in charge. I make the decisions. I don't pawn that stuff on anybody else. When it comes to a hard decision, I make it. I don't expect somebody else to make it. Uh, and I don't always go to the group and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? You know, like I'm afraid of doing something. So there is kind of a fine line between the two. And there are times, and there has been times in AK where I've had a senior guy who's kind of, I don't want to say gotten too big for his britches, but kind of gotten to that point where might have felt a little too comfortable about talking about something or acting like something was a big deal or not a big deal type of thing, type of situation. And that happens no matter what. That's a human issue. That's not a leadership issue per se. That's sometimes when people are vested in a group that they care about, they tend to be a little bit stronger feeling and more emotion about certain things, and so something like that'll pop up. But so a fine line between committee and democracy. So leadership is huge, and all these things all come together. With as a leader, you have to be able to make those decisions. You have to be able to constantly be thinking of ways to improve things. You need to be constantly looking at your people and seeing which way the wind is blowing or which way they're leaning towards this or that. What do they like? What do they don't like? And some of those things may matter to you, and some of those may not. But you have to at least be cognizant of those things going on so that you can shift rudder for the clan accordingly. Now, you don't have to. You can just say, out of here, bye. Absolutely. But you're going to lose members that way. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes you have to cut away the dead fat. We do that in AK every now and then. We end up building up our winter weight, and then we end up with a little bit of dead weight, and so we go through and start cutting loose players. So it happens. But democracy, dictatorship, or committee, leadership is very important. Without leadership, again, chaos, anarchy, everybody thinks they're in charge, and then again, you end up having people that leave because they don't want to be in a situation like that. So as I've said in a number of the previous videos, different things, structure of the clan. Everything is about structure, setting up that structure for the clan so that people know where they're at, know what box they're supposed to be in, know where the lines are they cannot cross or shouldn't cross, which lines they can cross, etc. So all this stuff is all important to making sure that things that need to get done for the clan and for the benefit of the clan and benefit of the members is getting done. And proper leadership is one of the biggest keys. You need to be in there making decisions, talking to your people, making sure you're doing the right thing within the confines of whatever your clan or guild setup is, whether it's competitive, friendly, casual, etc. All those things matter. All those things all tie in together for this type of process. But leadership is key. If you're going to be a leader, you need to be a leader. Make that decision. Good or bad, make it, own it. And if it was a bad one, learn from it and keep moving on. It's going to happen. So don't be afraid to make that decision, whatever it might be. So be that leader that your clan needs so that you can carry them on for long term. Hope it helps. And thanks for stopping by. Next video, we'll be talking about the members themselves, the meat of the clan, the members themselves. And thanks for dropping by. See you next time.